Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Please excuse my general appearance and demeanour today. I have been sick, sick for the past couple of days, and but I wanted to get this wrap up to you in good time, so that's why I am powering through this afternoon to try and get it done. I have to go back to work tomorrow, so I'm trying to get wee bits and pieces done today to try to ease me back into life. It's really hot here today, as you can see. The sun is glaring through the window. I am not used to 20 degrees and it's kind of sapping my energy right now. But as you saw from the thumbnail, I have read lots of books this month. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books this month. Which I think is exactly what I read last month. I'm not sure, but these are longer books, I think. So I think I've read more pages. Probably should have checked that out before I came on camera. But, as I said, extremely unprepared. The first 3 books I read this month were the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm not going to talk too much about these because I've done a whole video, which I will link. I gave them all 5 stars, but Return of the King, especially the second half, was my favourite. I then read The Inspector Calls by J.B. Priestley. This is a short play. It's about a suspicious death, basically, and the inspector calls. And the whole family's tied up in it, but nobody knows that anyone else is involved, but everybody's involved type thing. I studied this for GCSE. I haven't read it in a decade, and I went back to it and I really enjoyed it. I found this in the attic recently. It was my school copy that I'm sure I was meant to give back and didn't, and I found it recently and I reread it and I enjoyed it. Then I read Ginny Moon, and I think this could be one of my favourites of this month, although I've got a couple coming up that are quite special, but it's definitely up there. It was a 5-star, Ginny Moon, and it says a story for a lost girl searching for her forever home. And as soon as I found out that it was about the foster care system, I was all over. I just saw this sitting in the library, heard that after years in foster care, that's the first line, I was hooked. So if you've any good books about children in care, that's something that I'm really interested in. So if you've any recommendations, because I find it hard to find these books. Ginny Moon is 14 years old. She is severely autistic. She has been taken away from her mother, but she has a secret, and even though she tries to tell people a secret because her communication skills aren't good, they don't believe her, and then the secret comes out, and I don't want to say any more than that. It's not Own Voices, but it kind of is. So the guy who wrote this, him and his wife, did adopt an autistic teenage girl, and obviously has a lot of experience with support groups and all with other autistic children and their parents, adopted or biological. So the author himself is not autistic, but I felt that it was very realistic as a teacher and working with a lot of autistic children. I felt that it was quite an accurate representation, and it's not necessarily from Ginny's point of view. It's not in her head, so we don't get her thought process, we just get the actions. So obviously he can't write the thought process of a severely autistic person, but the way that he wrote her actions and how everyone around her responded to them, I thought was incredibly realistic. And this was really quick. It's over 300 pages, but I read it on one day off. It was quite quick, it was quite gripping, it's short chapters, the pace is really good, and I would definitely recommend this to anybody. It was really good. The next book I read was The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I was in a fantasy kick after The Lord of the Rings, and this was just a series that I knew was well loved. I'm not very well versed in fantasy, so I just went that something was popular, because I thought then I would probably, like it more, to dip my toe in the water. And I really, really loved this. This is a fantasy world, and the magic system is about drawing powers from metals, and each metal has a different power, and some people can just use one metal, and then there's other ones called Mistborns who can drain power from all the metals. And our main character is a Mistborn, and it's just a kind of general rebellion, rising up, fighting the baddies kind of story. and I absolutely loved it. I thought the world was so good, and I loved the characters. Breeze, I think, was my absolute favourite if you've read the series, and it's definitely a series that I am hooked on now. I think I've read the second one as well. I'm going to talk about it next. I haven't read the third yet because it hasn't come in from the library, but I think I'm going to leave it at 3. I don't think I'm going to dive straight in because there's like a trilogy and then like another trilogy that's in the same world, but they're not like directly linked. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. Now the cat's knocking the camera. But I think I'm going to leave it at the first trilogy and give it a while to set in, and then maybe later on I'll revisit the rest of them. Hello, sweetheart. Then I read The Well of Ascension, which was the second book. These are all massive big books. This is a different edition. I don't know why my library has the first and the third in the same edition and the second in a different, but I think I actually like this hardcover. Can you see the cat's tail? She's just trying to find a space in the sunshine. So I like this one better. It was a continuation on. I can't say much about the plot because it'll tell you that one. Again, I love the characters. I really liked the direction. I liked how it ended. It was a real twisty-turny. I didn't see all necessarily the wee secrets coming out that did. And overall, I really enjoyed it. As I said, the third one, I have it on hold. It hasn't come in yet, but I am dying to get to it and finish this little trilogy off. Then I read an ebook, so I don't have I'll insert it here, and I read The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. I thought this was going to be a zombie novel, and it was post-apocalyptic, if I said that word correctly. I'm not sure I have. But it was more alien invasion, and I don't want to say too much about it because it was really interesting. It had me on the edge of my seat. This is not typically what I read at all. I just took a notion for it, got it off the library, and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was just one of those things I had to find out what was going on. I had to find out what happened next. I wasn't a big fan of the ending, but it is a series, but I've heard the first one was really good and then the rest were meh, so I'm happy enough with how the first one rounded off, so I don't think I'll continue on with the series. But definitely for like just a fun read, I really enjoyed it. Then I read White Trash, The 400-Year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. I did not like this, you guys. It was a 2-star for me, and I will tell you why. I am in no way a history buff, but my dad is like an American history expert, and I've read quite a lot of non-fiction books on especially very early American history. And I'm not going to say that she was wrong, but I'm going to say that she didn't present all the facts. Or I felt like I've read maybe 7, 8 other books and they all basically said the same thing. What she said was quite different. So I felt like from the off then I thought that she was not completely reliable in her facts. And I also felt that she was quite opinionated, and it was one note, well, the start of it at least was one note on English hating. She just was going for the English, and again, I didn't think all her facts were necessarily correct about how the English and the Irish and general Europeans went over to America, but she was just really hard on the English, and it was just constant. It just felt like I was just like, oh, there's another English slag. Oh, there's another English slag. And not that I'm an English lover or felt that they did right in all that they did or anything else, but it was just like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. And then, like, you get on to the next chapter, you're like, oh, we're kind of out of that bit. We're now in more to the founding fathers. She'll maybe have, like, give it up. No, still the English, the English, the English. And I just felt like this dragged. I felt like I didn't get much out of it. I felt like there was a few interesting points, nothing new, but maybe I hadn't thought about it in that light. But then again, I was kind of turned off to her opinion at that point. And the only thing I can say for it was quick. I found it quick to read, or I probably would have DNF'd it. So it's definitely not one I can recommend. It was interesting, the history of class in America, and especially like white class, which was, I guess, a unique take on it. But when it comes to American history, I feel like there's a lot more books that can do it 10 times better, and you can draw your own conclusions about the class part. So I would not recommend this to anybody. I thought instead of white trash, it was written trash. Then I had another book which I had to return to the library, so picture up here. It was The Intruder by Charles Beaumont. That is coming off my head, so you'll know by the screen. I'll put it in somewhere if I'm wrong. I really enjoyed this. This was a 4-star. I thought it was in the horror section of my library, okay? And it was not horror at all. It was, I guess, suspenseful at times, but it was mostly about race in Southern America. It was written and set in the 1950s, and it is about integration in the school system and how the sort of community was affected by it. The High Court has told this school that they have to allow African American students to attend. So they do, but this out-of-towner arrives and says, I know a way we can get around this, and starts to rally people up, and then there's conflict. I just thought it was interesting. It definitely had To Kill a Mockingbird vibes. It's nowhere near as good. But it had that kind of the South, that there was like some people who wouldn't say it outright, but they were on the side of integration, and then there was white trash who were very against it, and who were nearly almost lower than the black citizens when it came to education and wealth and stuff. They were nearly worse off, and yet they were so against it. So it was just the whole like social dynamic. And again, it was a compelling read to find out who this out-of-towner was and what his motives were. And yeah, it was just very interesting. I don't want to say too much about it because it comes out why he's there and his whole history with the whole thing. But it wasn't that long. I couldn't tell you the pages off the top of my head, but I had it read in a couple of days. It was quite enjoyable. Then I read Pelican Blood by Chris Freddy, and I bought this. This was in my last haul. This was 10p, not secondhand, just the bookshop were getting rid of it. And I didn't think it was great. I gave it a 3-star. So at the start, it's about our main character is a bird watcher as a hobby. And it starts, I'm not spoiling anything, like the first chapter, he shoots a man dead who is trying to steal eggs. So egg collectors, who, if you don't know, there's actually quite a lot of value in collecting eggs, like real bird eggs. But they go to nests and they steal the bird eggs, and obviously the rarer the bird, the more expensive the egg is. So they're really endangering birds who, maybe in Britain there's only a couple of breeding pairs left, and they're going to the nest and taking the eggs and selling them on the black market for dear knows how much. So he starts off by killing this egg collector, and the whole story spirals from there. He knows that he probably will eventually get caught. He doesn't know how long. He's got 2 good friends, but family-wise he's completely on his own. He knew he has to do this, and he's just kind of waiting the whole story for the police to catch up with him. So it's really interesting to see how the murder affects his friends, and then how the guilt affects him, how they see differences in him, etc. I thought the ending was really good. So the ending would have pulled it up to a 4-star for me. And when I'm talking about the ending, I'm talking about the last 5th of the book. There's a twist. I don't see it coming. I think it was really well done. I think it really added to the story and made it really reflective. But by the ending, like the last couple of pages, I think brought it back down to a 3. I think it could have been reflected on. I think there could have been something really profound said about it, and it was just kind of left. So it could have been a 4 for me if the ending, the last couple of pages, had really reflected more on what had happened. Even if the last line had been like something, like a line that had been said at the start of the book but with different meaning, or something that one of his friends said that didn't mean anything to him at the time but it meant a lot now. Like, you know, the way they put like those wee lines in. Even something to do with, well, Pelican Blood is never mentioned in the book, but you can kind of draw by the ending kind of what it's meant to be talking about. But even something that would bring the title into the whole meaning of the thing, I think would have brought it up to a 4-star. But definitely for a 10p pick up. This was good. I won't be keeping it on my shelf. I'll probably give it away to a charity shop, and I think probably the next person who pick it up will enjoy it. My final book of the month, which I just finished today, was City of Ashes, which is the second in the Shadowhunter series, which I read the first one last month and I read the second one this month. And again, I really enjoyed this. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first one, but that could have been that I was reading it while I was in bed sick and I had a headache and I was just reading little toady bits at a time to try and distract myself. So that could be part of it. I still really enjoyed the characters. I think there was a lot of character developments for certain people. Luke is my absolute favourite in the series. I really love his character, his whole take on things and how he brings to the story. If you don't know, this is a series about shadow hunters who are like monster demon hunters, and they have powers of their own in this whole societies, and they fight werewolves and demons and vampires, and they keep peace with the downworlders who are basically non-humans. So I felt that this was a good wee continue. I think it's the shortest in this series, or near enough. But I enjoyed it, and I think that it started and ended in quite a good place. I think sometimes the series, it's one big story, and how they cut it up isn't necessarily always the best, but I think they started it and ended it in a good place. It is the kind of the same thing. The baddie comes back, we defeat the baddie, and then in the next book, oh no, he's not really dead, he's back again. It's starting to fall into that a little bit, but I am enjoying it. And maybe like the Harry Potters come like the third book, that'll start to wane away and they'll get more content to them. But for fun, quite easy reads, I've been really enjoying this series. So that's it for my May wrap up. I am not holding all them books up again because I near broke my back doing it the first time. So I hope you're all happy. I hope you're all healthy. If you've read any of these books, let me know down below and we can chat about them in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's free, and I'm almost at 300 subscribers, and I would really love to get a couple more and reach that goal before my birthday. So that's what I'm aiming for. So all the likes and stuff that you can give help towards that. And hopefully I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.